Hello, happy mini day. How are we doing today?
Happy mini day. I'm doing fine. I've got a live event this week. I'm very excited about it in San Jose. It's called Hilton Live, and it talks about there's speakers and panelists and education and just like talks about better ways to do live events and talks a lot about sustainability. And I'm excited. I love some education.
Yes, yes,
So,
you do. That's
what
good.
about you? What about you? What made you laugh this weekend, Amani?
What made me laugh this
Yeah.
weekend? That's a good question. I don't know. I think I got back from my trip to Nashville and I crashed. I took a nap on Saturday, took another nap on Sunday. Um, oh, this is what made me laugh.
Oh, okay, let's hear it.
We went on an improv class field trip and we got to see a live improv like competition where there are two teams competing against each other. The audience is participating, giving them topics to like improv about. It was hilarious. I don't think I've laughed that much in like a year. It
Oh,
was so funny and they were so talented, so good. So that's what made me laugh this weekend.
what were one of the bits that, like, tripped you up the most, that gave you the biggest giggle?
The one that well, there were a bunch of them. The one that remember like they played this game called Radio, and like you have different types of radio shows. Like, give me an example of a radio show that you might listen to.
Howard Stern.
Okay, so shock jock was actually one of the
Okay,
categories. So it was
Elsa,
shock
okay.
jock. It was like country. It was like sports talk. And so the referee, the facilitator, would point to a person, and they had a specific genre. Like if it was shock jock, they'd have to like, okay, and we're going to talk about why the moon is blue and this and that. Then he points to another person was like country, and he'd be country person like, oh, he would be singing like Jolene, 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 or whatever. They're pretending like they're the country, the radio station of their genre. And so they
Ooh,
go around, and it was just hilarious how they went around. It was hilarious.
that is hilarious. Wait, speaking of Jolene, have you heard Beyoncé's version of Jolene yet from her new
Yeah,
album?
yeah,
And if we
yeah. I
compare
like
that to, like, Dolly, to all the other
Dolly.
people that have done it, what do you think?
It was second to Dolly. Dolly's version is timeless. She wrote the lyrics. The lyrics are even today. The lyrics are quite appropriate, you know. So, and there are a lot of other songs, particularly in the country genre, that are like derivatives of Jolene. One of my favorites is like "Stay" by Sugarland. Um,
Mhm.
and so I like Beyonce's version though, and I bet you it'll be released as like a big single, major single. They'll do a video. Dolly is actually on it or on the prelude or whatever. So I like it. I like it. Of course, Dolly's is number one in my heart, but Beyonce's is there too. I give her credit.
She gives you credit. Well, I think Beyoncé plays a big role in your book too.
She does. Destiny's Child does too. Yes, yes.
Mhm,
This is true. This is
mhm.
true. So that story is always continuing to be written. So that's crazy there.
Little Easter egg, we'll talk about your book at a
Oh,
later time, a little Easter egg for your book
I love
coming
a
up.
good Easter egg. But today we're going to talk about sales.
Yes.
And I have so many sales questions. One of the questions I want to ask you is just how do you continue to update your CRM? What CRM do you use if you can share? How do you update it so you don't forget things? And how are you so good at follow up?
Gosh, 3
I've
big
been
questions.
waiting for this. I've been waiting for this mini for a month or two or
Oh,
three.
I love it, I love it. Okay, so I don't use a CRM anymore. I used to, yes, I used to use Act in the old days. I
Yes.
had Sugar. I had a mini form of Salesforce. All of them were great, but where I am at in my business, what I have found that works the most for me. Now, I recommend if I was just starting this new business today and it wasn't, my businesses are teenagers, right? One's 14 years old and the other one's 17 years old. So if they weren't teenagers, I would say invest in a CRM today and build with it. But what I use today is I use my Outlook calendar. I timestamp everything. So, like, somebody the other day, I found out somebody has the same birthday as me. So, I just went into my Outlook and I sent her a birthday message. My birthday's August 9th. I sent her a birthday message for August 6th and I timestamped it so it gets to her. So, I
Mm,
do things like right away, but I timestamp it. But what I also use for contacts and newsletters and all that is, the platform that hosts my website on Wix. So
mm.
I use Wix, which is my newsletter, all my contacts, a lot of communication goes through there. And then in terms of follow up, I use my calendar. But for a different side of my business, like for my HPM business, for my conference business, the way I know exactly where I'm at with each thing is I just use a Google Doc. And in that Google Doc, I have each section. So section one is availability reports that are out. So something that I've sourced, like a proposal that is out, and I have the name of the client and the last date we talked. It's all like right there. Then the other header is contracts requested or negotiated, and then another header is countersigned to contracts waiting. And then the final header is meetings, repeat meetings that have yet to been booked. So I look at, and it's called outstanding business. I look at that outstanding business document several times a day.
Mm,
And I, before the end of every day, I look at that document and I make sure it's updated. So when I start each day, I know exactly where I'm at with every business opportunity that I'm working on.
okay.
So there's that. And then for my coaching and speaking business, I use Google Sheets that I actually share with my chief of staff, Sandy, and I have like the date, the person that I talked to, the last time I talked to them, what I quoted them for whether it's coaching or whether it's speaking, and then when it turns green and when I turn it green, I just highlight it green. It means that they've given a verbal definite. They've said
Mhm,
yes,
mhm.
and then that is a cue for Sandy to then invoice them. And if they're white, it means I'm still chasing after them. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
What why have you stuck with this system and not gone to some of the more advanced CRMs they have out there?
So, it's interesting. Probably like 10 years ago, I used Act, and then Act kinda, I don't know if they've gone out of business, but they stopped updating, and it was a drag. It was slowing my computer down, and
Mm,
their cloud version wasn't awesome. So, at that conversion point, I decided to stop using them. And then I did a sample of Sugar, which was great, but when I had the other 2 businesses, it was very hard for me to integrate all 3 businesses into it. And then I did a sample demo of Salesforce, which quite honestly, it was just too robust for me. So
yeah.
then I just piecemealed these things together and it works for me. So I think the message is it doesn't have to be any sort of like decided CRM. Just decide on a system for yourself and be consistent about it. Like get into the practice of looking at it at the beginning and the end of the day and keep that open and update, like every conversation that I have with any customer, I'm taking profile notes the whole time and I'm taking action immediately after. So that way it doesn't all pile up at the end of the day.
Mhm. I can learn from you. Um, how do you track when you're applying to speak at different events, either industry events or with clients that can pay you?
So that's where I use my Google Sheets document.
Mm,
I put the date, I put like, for example, like when I applied to NPI, Northern California or WEC, I just put the date and then, the date of the event, the date that I followed up, and then I just put a note for myself, follow up again on this date. But I'm constantly like it's a practice for me to look at my outstanding business file and to look at my, speaking file multiple times a day. So
okay.
I'm in there, I never forget. There's never a time where I forget to look at my stuff. Like I'm in it. Yeah.
Just to reiterate, your outstanding business file is like a Google document.
It's
The
a
outstanding
Word doc in
Word doc,
yeah.
and then the Google Sheets is for like your speaking business and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if I was going to try to adopt your system, but I wanted to use this two different Google Sheets, could that work? What do you think?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I use Google Sheets a lot. So when I wrote my first book and I used Google Sheets as like a project page and I had different tabs at the bottom. So one was like publishers I spoke to and then I had each column was a conversation that I had and the date and my notes and my thoughts. And then another tab was marketing and then I like to highlight things when they're done. I yellow things out, like, when they're done.
Okay.
So I came up with, like, a different system. But I will share my documents, but they won't make sense to you, but you can look at them if you want. I'm happy to share them with you.
Yeah, or you create a template and a lead magnet on your website to get your free template. But I'm digressing here. So
Now
where
I can learn from you. I can learn
uh,
something from you.
for sales, although I grew up and I'm a phenomenal salesperson with a lot of works with Marriott, but
Yeah.
I slipped lately, and I can recognize it because some of the questions and things you do. My next question would be like, what is something in terms of sales skills that you're looking to learn or be better at as you continue to grow your business?
Ooh, I love this. Scaling.
Mm.
I've been doing sorry, I'm just pulling my hair. I'm giving myself princess hair. If you're just listening, what you should know is I'm considering braiding my hair like a princess, right?
Oh,
If you're watching,
okay.
Amani's like, "Why is Mandy pulling her hair?" I'm making myself a princess right now. Um, it's in my face. It's too much. I've got too much. So I think something that I want to do more of is just scaling. I did a really good job last year scaling one of my businesses. And when I say scale, it's like you're going after a specific type of business. There's a DNA, there's a profile. You're being as efficient as you can with it. So you're putting in the right amount of energy and effort and profiting the as much as you possibly can and bringing in the right people to help you. And so scaling is just something I'm continuing to do more and more. And with our podcast, monetizing. That's something that I want to continue. I see our podcast so clearly, and I know there's sales opportunities there, and I know there's sponsorship opportunities and monetization sponsorship opportunities there
Yes,
too.
yes. I see it as well, and I'm following Mandy's lead in terms of the processes and scaling, hiring people, not having the scarcity mindset that you need to do it all yourself. Um, so yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
And Amani, I want you give yourself a break because we all slip. Like, I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and she said, "Oh, Amani was my sales leader when I first got to Marriott. He was so great." And the thing is like, yeah, we were also great doing one thing when we're in the practice of it every single
Yeah,
day. And so many times, and I think this is common for so many entrepreneurs. We get mired in the weeds of payroll and taxes and finding business and invoicing, just all those things that go with running a business, that sales is something that does fall by the wayside. And when you do make it a priority, your business does change, but you've got that mental muscle. You did it. You're awesome at it. So just give yourself a break. I mean, you're running a business. You're a professor.
that's like
You
no
just
other business.
moved. You got stuff going
Yes.
on.
It's like, two or three businesses as well. So I'm working on giving myself more grace this year. So this will be another way I can practice that.
What's
Um,
something you want to do more of with sales that you're not currently doing?
it's everything we just talked about. Like it's like the business development, but I need to do a better job. You asked a question 2 or a month ago. Have you talked to the people who booked you in 2021 and reached out? Like, no, that's bad. So I have to work on being more consistent with the follow up. And the reason why I asked you about this, the speaking and how you track that is that I've applied to different places to speak, and I'm getting back rejection notices that I was like, oh, I forgot I applied there. I have to do a much better job of tracking where I've applied, following up,
Mm.
and doing that because I am getting better at following the breadcrumbs from other people who speak in the same space as me, but I have to do the back end too. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, just track it. Just yeah, track it. But on the back end too, um, uh, at least you're getting rejection letters. Sometimes you apply to speak and nobody even no, you never hear again. You
True.
never hear again from anybody. So at least that's great. They're giving you a
Yeah.
rejection letter. That's good.
Yes. And yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. I think we need to have a part two of this.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what I think? I think this should be a monthly or bi-monthly conversation because it's so valuable
Ooh.
and you're so talented and skilled and experienced at it that I have more questions. I have 6 others I couldn't even ask
Oh
today.
shit. Oh shoot. We'll have to do it next time. Sorry, everybody. I just cussed and Amani
Earmuffs.
gets mad when I cuss. I'm sorry. Amani, I am doing another Sales Tales live though.
Okay.
Um,
When?
I'm July 17th. I'm doing one for hotel partners, hotel anybody in the hospitality business or sell the hospitality. But in the fall, I haven't determined the date yet. I'm doing one for just entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do a survey in advance and say, what are your 5 burning sales questions?
Yep.
So, and I'm gonna
Right.
answer all of those lives as well.
Yep. Man.
So you could
All
be
right.
on that. But we could talk about this as much as you want. I'm passionate about this.
Yes. Yes. So we will. We're going to come back to
Yeah.
this one probably in June, I think. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Um, okay. This was a phenomenal mini. Thank you all for listening and watching. Make sure that you rate, review, subscribe, and share this and all our podcast episodes with your friends and colleagues. And with that, we will see you next week for another mini.
We'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.